Hi, Natalie.
Hi, I am so happy to have this conversation with you.
It is very exciting. It is.
It is because this is everyone. I'm already letting you know that this is a success story interview. So, this is not just an interview, this is a story that wants to talk about the success of Aviva. So, I am very happy to talk about your success, Aviva.
It's very exciting that I can be on a podcast with a success story because, I don't, I feel like it's always like a process, in becoming. So,
Right. Well, this is a milestone, and this is a success story about you and about your business and about how other entrepreneurs can be inspired by your journey. So I'm very, very excited to share your journey. But before we go on with the questions, I do want to say who you are and introduce you to our listeners. So Aviva Yoselis has been on the leading edge of patient advocacy initiatives in Israel. She has more than 25 years of experience in the fields of health promotion, research, advocacy, and health systems navigation. Aviva began her career in the US in health education and medical advocacy for low income minority communities and has worked with several nonprofit organizations in Israel in these areas, as well as with university and government agencies. With a master's degree from the Brown School of Public Health at Hadassah Hebrew University and international certification from the Patient Advocate Certification Board, Aviva also has a broad understanding of the biological sciences, biostatistics, epidemiology, all words that, I don't know how to say, I don't even know what it means, and clinical trials, current issues in healthcare, and the Israeli medical system. Can I tell you, first of all, your bio is very impressive, but every time I read a bio, I'm saying, making a mental note, like, we need to make simpler bios, like things that people can understand.
it's a problem because I contributed to it, and my problem always is like I write things and people who like it's great, now take it down and take it down again and take it down.
Exactly. And also, there is the difference between reading a bio that has been written and saying it out loud.
True,
so
true.
I'm every time I'm saying that to myself. So hopefully next time I'll, that mental note will become an actual.
Don't have the word epidemiology in the bio.
Exactly. But beyond this amazing bio, and obviously you have so much experience and you're such an expert in your field, and that is not something that we have to convince anyone of. But what I see is happening, and that's what I want to talk about, is not only your expertise in your field, but also your expertise as a business owner. Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That is what we're here to talk about, right? Because I think that your expertise, your professional expertise, I think that you are convinced and and you have enough experience and you've helped enough people navigate through the system, and I know that a lot of people, I think we can even say, like, save lives. With the work that you do can potentially save lives, or at least improve their lives, right? Is that can you say in a few words in your own language what you do, because I think that would help everyone.
Sure. So now what I do is I help people navigate the healthcare system, which means find out what your services are, what you're eligible for, how to decide what services, where you want to go to, etc., as well as help them make decisions. Because people are bombarded with so much information, and how you make a decision really depends on your unique construct.
Right.
So,
and anyone who has someone who is, unfortunately sick in their family, I know I have people in my family, and you see, how you have to navigate the system. And for people that are not from Israel, it's another additional challenge. I mean, I'm sure it's a challenge wherever you live, but you're really providing a service that is so needed for people that, not only they're sick and they have health issues, but they also need to face, all the admin crazy process and bureaucracy and all that.
Right. So you're not only talking about the language barrier, even if somebody speaks Hebrew, you're talking about a huge cultural barrier, so I deal with mostly English speakers, also people from Western Europe, especially people from France. Also, I've worked with people. It's like a completely different mentality. you know, people think that no is no. So
Right.
if they told me that doesn't exist, then okay, it doesn't exist, and I have, and not asking all the other range of questions.
Right.
So I mean, the reason I got into it was that I had this whole professional experience, but I was also a mother with various children with medical issues, and nothing was severe, but it was time consuming and not specific answers. And I over and over again was on the other side of the desk with the doctor, having to learn how to advocate for my child.
Yeah,
So
for sure. For sure.
yeah,
And, the reason why I started by saying this is a success story interview is because from working with hundreds of mostly women and mostly purpose driven people that love to help, I've seen again and again, time again, that, being an expert in your field is something that you totally, accept and totally go with, and you're recognized and you know that you can help and you have self confidence in that. And then when I say success in business or your identity as an entrepreneur, or talking about a success story in as a business owner, then there is like this little delay or this little like, me an entrepreneur, me in
yeah,
business, right?
right.
So I would love for you to explain that. Like, first of all, how was it before? When you first started, did you start with an idea of I'm going to become a business owner? And how did you evolve with that identity? Like, until today, we're going to talk about today, obviously, but can you tell
Right.
us more about that journey between you and your entrepreneur's identity?
Well, I never had like I am going to be an entrepreneur. I want to develop a company. Like it didn't have that process. It developed because I worked for a bunch of other people, and it would come the summer, and I would have to ask friends and hire people and basically spend my whole salary on childcare during the summer months because things have changed really, even in the excuse me, even in the like brief time since I first became a mother, which is, close to 25 years at this point. But there just wasn't the support. So I think when my fourth child was born, I thought like, I can't do this anymore. I need more flexibility. I need to be able to call the shots. So I just started developing it slowly. I opened up a boutique for an Osek Patul, and I did not know what I was doing, but I don't know, I just felt like I'll figure it out,
Right.
and I read, that, I mean, I read, now there's so much more, but there was the internet. I read on the internet, and I opened up my teak actually in Ashkelon, and there's like no English speaker, and it was like a smaller office. People like, you go to Jerusalem, like nobody knows but there was like, they were so friendly and they were so nice and they were like so supportive, and they told me where to go and what to do. And like slowly, things just, developed over time.
Right. And
Yeah,
and I love the way you tell the story from the beginning, because we all have that story from the beginning, right? I mean, we all have that story in the beginning where we didn't know what we're doing and we were trying it and asking questions and checking. And then
right,
the question is like, how do you go from this, not knowing what we're doing, to being
right,
today that successful entrepreneurs who not only is making not only a revenue that can support herself, but also hire staff, having people on your team, being able to pay yourself a salary, reaching that goal that you had, which is being flexible with your time and being able to manage your priorities. We're going to talk about how you're
right.
managing, your personal life, as we all do, right? But
Yeah.
it's this whole process. So how do you feel that your mindset has changed? What is your mindset today around, being an entrepreneur? Like, do you recognize yourself in that identity? How do you feel with that identity?
Well, to go back to what you said, I think that I don't know if I made a lot of mistakes, but I made a lot of different turns, and my business identity went through a lot of iterations. And at some point, I realized, okay, like I need help. And I sought out a lot of a lot of free resources, or I did something with something called Present Tense, which gave me that was my sort of first for. I did a program with them where it was like an incubator kind of thing for religious women, and that kind of like all of a sudden, oh wait, I could change this from sort of like the side hustle, I'm freelance, flexible to, I could, run a business. So that was like one shift. And then really when 2 years ago, when I think it was 2 or was it 3, I don't even remember, Corona has like changed
Yes.
all of my time. Whenever I found you again, I was in a situation where like I had sort of been involved in a nonprofit and I'd lost that position, and I needed to make a decision. Like, am I in it? Am I going to invest now all my time, like my time and energy, and really make this a go? Or am I going to be like, okay, it was good, it served its purpose, and now I'm going to move on to like a regular job with a salary and a. So I told myself, like, I took the summer, I took 3 months. I said like, okay. And then when I said, okay, I'm going to choose this, then it was like, okay, now I have to jump in with both feet, like now I have to think about how do I make this a business, and I'm a business owner. I don't think of myself, I guess, as an entrepreneur. I don't know why. I don't like, I read in like a lot of, for entrepreneurs, but I've never like defined myself. As an entrepreneur, I call myself a small business owner. That's what.
Okay. I
Yeah.
don't think you're alone on that. I don't think that. I think there are a lot of people that don't call themselves entrepreneurs, but I think that it's not what you call yourself. It's the reality of what you do, right? Because
I
the
mean, what
reality
makes like what is the difference between like an entrepreneur and like running a small business?
It's a great question. It's a great question. I think that the difference is more in the mindset, right? An entrepreneur is going to be someone, who is creative, who is a quick starter, who is always thinking of different ideas, always has different projects, always, thinks of ways to grow and opportunities, right? So I think you can also have an entrepreneur's mindset without actually being an entrepreneur. You see also that with kids. Some kids you see, that they're always with new ideas and new projects, and you're like, oh wow, that's an entrepreneur's mindset. Doesn't mean that they have a business. But I actually, when you say I'm a small business owner, I think it really defines what you are, because you have a small business. And what I loved about your journey, and you're right, we started at least, I think it's at least 3 years ago. I don't have the exact date also, but we've been working for a long time together. And what I loved about your journey is seeing how you really made that choice between the side hustle or the thing I do on the side as a freelance, to saying, no, now this is a real business. Now this is something I'm investing in. Now this is something that I want to structure in a professional way, right? Did you for sure saw that that process happen?
Yeah. No, definitely.
And it's I think from what I'm seeing is it is a decision that every small business owner has to take at some point, or every freelancer or anyone that is being paid for their services has to make that decision of, do I want a professional, structure professionally my activity, right? Do I want it to be more professional, looking more structured, looking more like a business, or do I want to just solve problems and issues whenever they come up? And so I think the mindset is the beginning, but then there is still, as you can see, like every step there is jumping ahead, right? So what was some of the jumps that you had to do to actually go from that freelance? So joining a program is one step. That's already
for
one
sure.
step.
I said to myself, like, okay, I have to commit. Like, I've done so many free things and one-off things and individual, but I said, like, I need the structure of a program. And also, like, I knew that if I didn't commit, and also financially, I knew that I wouldn't be as in like all in the steps, So I said, like, okay, I have to invest financially in order for it to like really affect me. So that was definitely like, a first step.
That was definitely the first step of saying, okay, if I'm investing, then it is really a business, right? And I'll always say, so it also means that you really believe in the success that you can have. Because if you're investing, it means that you're also really believing that there is potential, that there is something that is going to happen. So before we go to the next steps, talk to me a little bit about how it was for you to join the program, the Born to Do Business program, which is the program that I manage. What did you find in that program that helped you as a small business owner?
So first of all, one of the things that I've always, I don't know, complained about isn't a great word, but is that it's sort of the lack of peers, a lack of colleagues, that I was already sort of like, I don't feel myself like, I really don't think that at this point in my life, like trying to refit myself into sort of a salaried position or like would be a fit for me for many reasons. But I miss that. I miss that there are like sort of other people in the boat with you, and you feel like even when you hire a team and they're great, there is like, you're still, the buck stops here. So it's not like a colleague. And so the first thing was really like just another group of people, all at different stages in the process, but who are all with this process, So that's, to me, that's like already, was very empowering. And I found very helpful. And then, I mean, in the beginning, I have to say the first few months, I was kind of like, what? It was like, I didn't, every time you didn't like, you don't get into the schwung kind of thing, kind of like system that oh, I lost you. I've been doing this for X amount of time, and so like, why do I need this new system, or why do I need to implement that? So it's sort of like you have to also unlearn sometimes and be humbled, which is always good. And I personally am somebody, I work with Excel sheets, I work with templates, I work with, step by steps and checklists. So that methodology really worked for me. And then I felt like I could see it, like I love roadmaps. This is what I feel like I do for other people in healthcare. I create a roadmap for them. I break it down into doable steps, and I walk them through it. Confident, then I sort of step away more. And I felt like this was the same thing. Like I could relate to that, concept.
Definitely, definitely. And it's so interesting because I don't know if you were like that, but I know a lot of people when they, look for help, their first reflex or the first go-to is to go to a coach that they will have one-on-one with. And I don't know if this was the case for you, if you had this, need to have more one-on-one, but very few know from the beginning the value of the group. And I feel like what you're describing now, your experience with the peers and your experience with the group and how it helps, I find that I have to explain that many times. So did you have to also, were you in the beginning like convinced that you needed help one-on-one, and then you were surprised by the group or by the value of the group? Or did you know?
No, because I've met with a lot of coaches over the years, and I've done like a lot of one-on-one, like either be like a one-off session or like a short period. And I missed the structure. I missed structure. I missed the roadmap and the step-by-step. So I wasn't looking for the group, but I was for sure looking for something else that wasn't just like the one-on-one. I needed something that was like a larger plan. So that's why initially, like, your program really spoke to me. And then, it got to the point, it's funny, like you'll notice that people, oh, where's so-and-so? Like I wanted to see them on the group. Like I wanted to tell them this, you really like, it's very nice. I feel like I've really created relationships with people, and it sort of became like, it's become like a support group also in some ways, but it's very empowering.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I love how you're saying, like, yes, first I went to one-on-one coaches, but then I realized that something was missing. And I find that there are pros and cons to both, but when you know what you need and you go for that, then this is, you get exactly what you need. So that's really a good point. And so you get the roadmaps, you get the step-by-step, you get the structure and the templates. And I want you to go a little bit fast forward to the time where you face a resistance to something that that you need to do, and you and I know what it is, so we can talk about it.
Are you talking about the hiring? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. You get to a point where, okay, I'm overwhelmed. I have so much to do, and I come with a solution, and I say, yeah, we need to hire. I want you to take us back to before you hired, because that, the process is interesting. What was your resistance before? Even though it made sense on paper, even though you saw that you couldn't, that you had a a glass ceiling that you couldn't go beyond if you didn't hire, if your time was taken up by all those little tasks. And you also saw, by the way, that's also why the group is here. You also saw in the group how other people were hiring and how they were benefiting from that. So can you take us back to the resistance where, how the hiring was a challenge?
So I think it was twofold. I think one is I'm in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to finances, or I'm a conservative person. I am creative, and I will take leaps, but when it comes to money, I felt very clearly that I was afraid to take a leap where I'm going to pay somebody else without this like guarantee behind me 100% that I will be able to generate the income that would cover that, and you know without jeopardizing other parts. And you can run the numbers, and I could have maybe if I had put stuff away every month beforehand, which I didn't, because I wasn't there, maybe I wouldn't have had that feeling. But that was really the, what if I hire this person and then I don't have enough money to pay them? What if I hire them and it's a disaster, and they aren't able to do? What if I, I just a lot of what ifs. And
right.
I mean, I think that I have gotten better at sort of accepting that the level of risk, that I think I'm being smart about it. I don't think I'm being too risky, but there is a level of risk. And I think also what I've learned is I'm, especially from hearing this, we've spoken about this before, but I'm not going to get to that point where oh, now I'm done. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. All right, now I've invested all this and now we're just going to run smoothly the business and everything. It's not going to happen.
Right.
And I have to accept that, that this is that for whatever, that I'm choosing this, way to be for several reasons. One of them financial, but not only, which is also I sort of gone through a catharsis in myself to accept that. And so that, yes, each step, it's I'm going to get to a point, and then and then I have to get to another point, and I'm going to have to go across that point when I'm not 100% feeling comfortable,
right. Right. And
so,
I think that what you're describing is so much the process that every business owner is going through, no matter what level, no matter what resistance, everyone has to overcome. It's always every level will have, a new resistance to overcome. And
yeah.
it's always going to be outside of our comfort zone. It's always going to be that fear and that what if. And what I think is really amazing with what you went through is that the fear was really there. There was a real fear, like you said, it was really a part of you that doesn't work with, I'm not spending the money that I don't have. Right.
Yeah.
This is a belief, right? I'm not doing something if I'm putting myself at risk financially. And I think that a lot of business owners have to work on that mindset of what we call investment, right? Which is I might not have the money physically, but I'm still going to put it down on the business because it will help me make more money, which is the definition of investment. But seeing you going through those resistance and those questions, and then having the strength and the courage and the belief that, yes, I know this is not my comfort zone. This is my fear. I'm not used to work like that, but I will believe and I will do it, and I will trust the process, and I will, wait until I'm on the other side to decide, I think you were until the end, you were still am I really doing the right thing, right? And then you did jump, you did hire, and I want you to talk about how was it? So you did, make a leap of faith, and then what happened?
Yeah. So it was very funny because I have hired people in the past when I was doing other things but I realized when I went through your plan that I was hiring in a very wrong way. So this was the first time that I went through it in a very methodical way. And I sat down and I wrote the job description, and I wrote out the questionnaire that you say is to single out people beforehand. And I asked people where to post it. And I really thought like nobody is going to be interested in this job. Who is going to want this job? It's very part-time. It's like doing random, like who's going to want this? And I put it out and like, you keep like going and checking. I check and like nobody responds and like nobody responded. And then I had to go like have dinner. I don't know. And I came back and like 10 people had filled out the questionnaire. And then by the end, like after a week, I had like 30 people who were interested, and I think like 15 or maybe more, 20 who filled out the questionnaire. And I interviewed like 10 people, and the whole time I'm going like, I can't believe that people are interested and people do it. And that was in January, so it's not that long ago. I hired my office manager in January, and I told her like 3 to 5 hours a week, like that's it, tops. That's what and like within 2 months we'd passed that, and now we got to the point where I was like, I think I have to hire somebody else. So I told her that today, because she told me she's like, I'm over the hours like we had already agreed upon last month. And I said, yeah, I think I have to hire somebody. And she was like, that's amazing.
That's it. She's now we're talking about hiring. Right. And we're talking about hiring, and obviously hiring means spending money, right? But at the same time that you hired, I know you also told me that you did increase your number of clients. You did increase your prices.
I increased my prices and I increased my number of clients completely. And you also totally changed my mindset, because I guess in my mind, I thought, okay, you hire somebody, you have to hire them, in a very like with a certain number of hours, and it has to be with a salary receipt, and it has to be like just so. And you said, no, you can totally think outside the box. And I was sure that people wouldn't be interested in that. And they were completely interested in that. And I thought the salary that I was going to offer, I thought, no way that quality candidates are going to be interested. And I had so many quality candidates, so
wow.
That was like really eye-opening. Yeah, for that.
That was eye-opening. And that was eye-opening because that time that you got all of a sudden got back some time, because this business manager or this office manager started doing things that you were like admin tasks and small tasks that didn't really have added value for you.
Yes.
And then you were able to increase your prices, have more clients, increase your revenue, which means that today you can not only pay a salary to the office manager, but to yourself as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that was also something that I had decided on early on. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I have to pay myself first. It can be like a modest salary, but I have to commit to it. And even that was hard for me. Like I put it on Horat Keva. Like I put my salary on like a returning, because which I never did, because I was always afraid. Like, what if there isn't enough money in the account? And I was like, no, you got to commit. You got to do it. Don't be so afraid of it. So right. Yeah, it's now I realize it's only been 7 months, and I don't handle anything already when it comes to like potential to new clients. Like that whole process is part of it's automated, but my office manager handles it. Like I don't see the person until there's like a call with them. So
wow.
Yeah.
And that is freeing up so much of your time. Now it's great on the business level, of course, because you're scaling and because you're freeing time to do more, more tasks, that are really needing your expertise. But I also know that it was great on a personal level too, right?
Yes.
So what happened? Because I know that you had on a personal level, you had a specific week where so much happened, and you told me like, if I didn't have an office manager, I don't know how I would have done it. So what was that week?
Yeah, so we had my daughter gave birth, and I was there. I was the doula, and then she was in the hospital and obviously needed help. And then that Shabbat, my son had his bar mitzvah. My youngest child had a bar mitzvah. So I was like in the hospital or planning or, or helping my daughter for basically that, 2-week period. I mean, and it was amazing. I'm sitting there in like the, Chadar Leida, the labor delivery room. Cause my daughter, she's like, has a break. So I'm like texting with my office manager, I'm answering her questions, but she was the whole funnel, it was amazing. It was hysterical. I was like, that was really funny. I took some calls, but it was first of all, just to like have somebody else to be able to say like, okay, delegate, like I need you to do these, things. And also somebody who like, because by that point she'd been trained, like she got it, so she could do all these things on her own that initially she couldn't do. So that was such an amazing feeling. Yeah, it really was. It really, really was. And now I have like the ability to start like, to focus on working with other organizations and companies, which is like what, my plan had always been, so that I could really expand, the number of people that I can serve. So yeah, you cannot do that.
And your mind and your time is available, is free for that, because you're structuring the business, because you have the systems in place, because you have the team. And
Exactly.
and I love how we started this interview with, oh, I wasn't sure I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and now we see you as a business owner with your phone, managing your team from the delivery room, and still asking, am I really a business owner? Yes. I'm here to tell you that you are.
That's it. I still don't know, so I'm glad you're telling me.
Yes. I'm telling you this.
Do I get to say I'm an entrepreneur? I don't know. That I'm not sure yet.
You get to say that. If you need the a certification or something to put on your wall, we'll find somewhere. But yeah, it's amazing to see this growth and this journey, and this not only business development but also personal development growth.
For sure.
And
personal development. Yeah.
And I know, because we spoke about it, that you said that it was a lot also because of the program and because of everything that you've gained from the program. So if someone would come to you and say, should I do a program? Should I do this program? How would you recommend? Like, what would you say to someone that comes and says, I'm not sure if a program is for me? Like, how would you describe that experience to them?
I mean, I don't have, because I've had this conversation already recently with somebody, so I don't even have to imagine it. But yeah, I say to people, if you're ready to invest in systems and infrastructure of your business, and you want, like, you're ready for the homework, like you have to do the work. You really have to, like, you have to be ready to do the work. You have to invest. But if you are ready for the structure, and if you're ready to really make it a business, and not like, I help, I'm not that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if you're ready, then I think you really need a program. And I think you need a program that offers you, the good thing about it is I've seen so many things over the years, like I really have. So I kind of know what works and that doesn't work, and also what works for me, and there is a level of, like, chemistry involved, for sure. Like sometimes, it fits, and it doesn't fit. But if you're somebody who likes templates, and you like, step by step, and you like methodology, and you want to sort of channel the creativity, and you're ready to put in the work, then I for sure think that this is the program for them. Definitely.
Wow. I'm so, like, in admiration. Like, I'm just like, I think that what I get the most moved by, of course, the money and the revenue and the clients. That is great, because it's a result, and that's also why we have a business. But what I really love seeing is when we grow as a person, is when we can see, oh, I had this belief and now I don't have it anymore. Oh, I had this fear and I don't have it anymore. I'm gonna have other fears and other beliefs,
right, exactly.
Right. But this one I overcame. And I don't know about you, but I feel like the more, it's like a muscle, right? The more we overcome fears, the more we, like, okay, if I was able to overcome the last two fears, so maybe this one that's coming up, maybe I'm more ready for it. And it's kind of practicing the muscles to be able to see the future with more confidence, right? To say, I can base my confidence on something because I have overcome the past challenges. Now we'll end this interview with your advice. We always ask if you had one advice to share with entrepreneurs or with business owners, however people recognize themselves. And I know that you say something very specific around women, like women entrepreneurs. What
Right.
would that be? To end on an inspiring note.
Uh, yes, yes, specifically for women, because I see, women in this journey. I'm paying attention so much to the men. But I feel that we're very good at telling ourselves what we're doing incorrectly, which is it's just not a bad thing. I think that, like, critique is important, and I think that's important to hear those voices and to listen to other people also outside who are helping you and giving you, you have to choose those people wisely, I think, but you do have to listen to it. But I think that sometimes we err, especially people my age. I'm closer to 50 than not. And I feel that we tend to hear those voices and we don't balance it enough with our, like, positive talk, like looking at all the amazing things that we're doing, and strengthening ourselves and really saying, like, okay, you're right, this, but, like, let's look at all the positive things over here, and, really, like, I don't, yeah, really supporting ourselves internally, being our own best friend, and not sort of undermining ourselves. Oh, you can't really do that. Oh, why are you going to make that call? Oh, you're not really going to be able to meet with that person. Like, you really have to change. I listened to this woman once who gave a talk, and she said, like, she called it the Wonder Woman stance. I don't know. She said, like, before you go into a meeting, she said, you put your arms out straight and you widen your legs, right? If you stand
Right.
there for like a
Right.
few minutes, and you, like, repeat, like, positive imagery to yourself. And it's funny, like, it really
Right.
helped. I did that once before. Like, I had this really big meeting with, like, the Mankalit of Meuchedet, and I went
Right.
into the bathroom in the stall. I did it, and it was really helpful. I was like, okay, I can do that. So yeah, and I think also reminding, like, what's the bad thing that can happen? Like, really being realistic. Like, what is really, like, okay, so I won't get the project, or whatever. I'll have to figure out a different way to like have that revenue than I thought. But we figure it out in the end, and that's sort of to just keep going forward. And we talked about other priorities. I mean, I have 5 children. I take care of my mother who's got dementia and the caregiver, and my father lives with us and he's almost 90. He's amazing. And, and all the extended, issues of running a complicated household. But I've realized, like, I just keep putting one foot in front of the other. That's what I keep telling myself, just slow and steady wins the race.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely. And I love how this is like going back to the, like closing the circle of the beginning of our discussion, because I do think that women have an additional challenge to work on their mindset. Because whatever the education or the culture or the social surroundings, we have like a gap that we have to, at least our generation, right? I'm also closer to 50.
Yeah.
It could be that our daughters won't have that challenge.
I hope not.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
But I love how we did a full circle, because we started with, I never saw myself as an entrepreneur, and we end with you giving advice to other women, who are entrepreneurs from where you are, which is a place of, I went outside of my comfort zone. I went and I faced my fears, and I did, take a leap of faith, and I continue doing it. And I think that if we ask what is the definition of an entrepreneur, I think that's it. That's, being able to take risks and, taking that leap, and that's exactly what you're doing. So I love how we did a full circle here. Aviva, thank you so much for being our guest.
It was so much fun to talk with you.
I know. I love it. It's so inspiring. I'm always so inspired by the people that, that not only that are in the podcast, but when we do a success story, it's something that I like going deep into. That was a challenge, so people can also identify. I don't like those interviews where everything looks amazing and everything is perfect, and I'm making so much money. And no, everyone has to overcome challenges, and it's how we overcome them that shows our ability to be really a business owner or an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Aviva. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It is a pleasure to, offer you those success stories and to talk more in depth about those challenges in business and in life. And we will see you next week for another episode of the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs Podcast. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Aviva.